Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. So our assignment pace this week will be pretty similar to how we had it last week, and we'll keep up that approach as we draft the various sections of the grant proposal until about mid-November. So this will be the predictable schedule for a little while. So first, of course, if you have not yet replied to classmates on Friday's discussion of the sample program narrative and objectives, and of course planning your own, remember to complete those replies by tonight. And as I mentioned last week, when you respond to your classmates, I do strongly recommend starting by responding to members of your own group, if you are in a group. And so that way you and your group can keep using these discussion boards to continue collaboration as you plan out your own group section of the relevant sections of the grant proposal. So of course, these discussions in which we analyze an example and then begin planning should be completed individually. And then, of course, right now, each week, the only assignments that will be completed as a group are the drafts of the sections. And of course, then once those drafts are submitted, the peer reviews are completed individually. So hope that clarifies that if you were confused at all. But you can let me know if you're confused still. So speaking of drafts, though, on Wednesday, drafts of the program narrative and objectives will be due. And as you work on the draft, remember to keep in mind what our lesson materials from last week discussed, as well as what you learned from analyzing some of those samples last week. And of course, most of you are in a group, so you should be collaborating with your group members on writing that draft. And of course, the few of you who are doing a solo project, you will, of course, need to complete the draft alone. And of course, in any case, if you have questions as you work on the draft, make sure you do let me know. And just like last week, we have this set up as a discussion board so that way everybody in the class can see all of the drafts. And I hope that approach works well for you. Of course, if it doesn't, you can let me know as well. And as before, one member of your group will be responsible for submitting the group's draft. But then, of course, make sure to include all the names of the group members with your submission. And then after that, each individual will complete the peer reviews for two drafts, that is, two drafts of other groups, not your own group. And so then, of course, take a look at the instructions on Canvas for more details, and then your replies to your classmates' drafts will be due by Thursday night. So then on Friday, we'll start Module 6, and that focuses on the evaluation and assessment plans of a grant proposal. And on our lesson materials page, I do have another short mini lecture, and then our list of readings that you'll need to be completing. And in particular for this, you'll be reading lesson 11 from our textbook, the only grant writing book you'll ever need, as well as with some of the other lesson material pages. I've been listing a chapter at the bottom from the online textbook, Winning Grants Step by Step, which you can access through Miami's library. It's very helpful. Those optional chapters that we list for each lesson material page can be very helpful, so I do strongly recommend taking a look at those as well, even if you can't read them thoroughly, but they can be good supplementary reading to help you understand the various elements of a grant proposal. So then, of course, you will need to explicitly reference our class materials in Friday's discussion activity, just similar to like we did last week in last week's discussion. And so we'll be analyzing a sample, and then you'll be planning out your own. And then replies to classmates for that will be due next Monday. So finally, my thanks to all of you who completed the anonymous mid-course survey. It was very helpful to hear about the elements of the class that have been working for you and helping your learning. And of course, also, I really appreciated getting some suggestions as well. I wanted to just take a moment to address some of those suggestions that brought up so that, we can always be thinking about ways to improve the course. And again, this being the first time this version of the course is being offered, I'm always looking for ways to improve it, but also recognize things that are working. So your feedback has been very helpful. So of course, one suggestion was for additional examples. And while we're finally starting to get some grant proposal examples with our Friday discussions, I do agree that having some more examples and earlier is a great idea. And perhaps even a resources page that includes some additional examples might be one approach to that. So some of you that will have to be applied next time I teach the course. But if I'm able to, I do hope I can try to put together at least a resources page with additional resources and information for you and potentially examples that you might be able to use. So I'll stay tuned on that. Another suggestion was having more websites or that might be helpful for finding grant opportunities for beginners, and I think that's a good idea. As you might recall, our assignments when we were searching for grant opportunities, those RFPs, that was pretty challenging, and which was also difficult because of the databases that we had access to, the certain limitations on that. And so I'm going to be looking for additional websites that might be useful to make that process easier next time I teach the course. So too late for us, I guess, but that's helpful to consider for next time. And I have a couple of you mentioned being a little bit worried about having sufficient time to write a full grant proposal, especially since we took almost halfway through the semester to actually begin the drafting stage. So that's a very valid concern. Grant proposal lengths, of course, can vary greatly. And so most of you also will be have at least one partner to be working with, which I hope is helpful with the workload. Of course, my concern with starting the grant proposal process, writing earlier in the semester is just making sure we have sufficient preparation. And of course, we will know very soon how well our approach is working. And this, of course, being that first time this new design of the class is being offered, plus being the first time it's offered online. So thanks for bearing with me through any difficulties. And of course, as we proceed, the scope of if the scope of the proposal feels like a lot, you can let me know. Some things we only find out once we have gone through the course, unfortunately, just since this is the first time through on this particular schedule. But I appreciate those concerns. And another great suggestion was to have an open discussion board for students to discuss confusion, questions, just bring up anything on there. Then I can answer the questions there. Might even be able to develop that into an FAQ for future sections, frequently asked questions. So I actually used to use a discussion like that back when I first started online teaching about 10 years ago, so it was a long time ago. But I've forgotten about using that, and I will definitely look into that and see if that was something that might work for us. It would need to be easy to access, of course, and easy to find so that it does not get buried within all of the other modules, because there are a lot of pages on there. But if I am able to get something like that figured out and set up, I will definitely let you know. I'm putting that on my radar of list of things to explore next. So appreciate that suggestion. So if you do think of anything else that could benefit your learning in the class, do let me know. I really value your feedback. I'm always looking for ways to improve this course, especially since you are the guinea pigs this semester. So anyway, of course, if you do have any questions, difficulties, need for clarification about anything at all, make sure you do let me know.